All right, well, let's begin today. Let me just say, I hope you had a good week. It's Friday, one more day in the week for productivity. I hope your productivity was very good this week and that you killed it with whatever it is that you do, even if it's not your passion, you know what I mean? By the way, yesterday's video on the Dave Ramsey clip really resonated with a lot of people, and I'm very grateful that it did, because this whole idea about your work needs to be your passion and stuff like that, it's just not true. It's just not true. It's okay if you work for the paycheck. That's why most people work. They work for the paycheck. And so if you're not passionate about your work, you can still work as unto the Lord. There's nothing wrong with that. And I'm glad to see that there was a lot of people out there that work for their wage, and they're content with that, and they work hard for the Lord that they love and the family that they love and all that kind of thing. God bless you guys. Don't buy into this nonsense where you just gotta find your passion. It's just not correct. It's great if you can find your passion and make money doing it, but it's not always the case that you're gonna do that. And so let's not have a lack of contentment with the station that we're in. All that to say, though, that I am lucky enough to make a portion of my income. It's a very small portion, but a portion of my income doing something that I am quite passionate about. And this past week, we had a great sales week for the Social Justice Pharisees book, Woke Church Tactics and How to Engage Them. And so what I'm going to do to celebrate not only a good sales week, but also an epic Juneteenth weekend, if you go to adrobles.com and you click Get the Book, it will link to my eBay page where there is an epic sale in honor of Juneteenth going on right now. You can get Social Justice Pharisees, and you can learn how to defeat the common tactics and arguments of the woke church on the cheap in honor of Juneteenth. Now, one book is going to be $18 on eBay. Now, that's minus $2 from the eBay sale, but most people have been emailing me and getting the book for $18 just straight from me. But here's where the sale comes into play. You can get two books, so you can get a book for yourself and you can buy a book for a friend for $14.04 each. That's $28.08 for two books in honor of Juneteenth. Now, a lot of people have done this, and I am very grateful for the people that have purchased this book, and so I wanted to honor and celebrate Juneteenth the way we ought to. You know what I mean? The way that we should, and that is by spreading the message from God. The scriptures that I bring up are direct revelation from God, and I think that they completely contradict the key components of the woke church presentations. And so I hope that you found this book helpful. If you've read it, let me know what you think. And if you have not, there's no better weekend to buy this book than this weekend. Juneteenth. We're celebrating Juneteenth, y'all. So that's the kind of thing that I think is going to be very effective in this fight. Now, let me say this. I honestly don't even know what you're supposed to do on Juneteenth. If you watched last night's Reformgelical, we were kind of kicking this around a little bit. What are the traditional what are the traditional things that you should do on Juneteenth? I had a few ideas. I mean, if you're white, probably you should spend the day crying. That would be a good thing, and ceremonial crying, and perhaps maybe even I don't know, maybe even weeping. Spend the day weeping and moping around. That might be a good idea if you're white. If you're black, I guess you could do whatever you want. And if you're like me, where you have 20% slave blood inside you, and then 60%, oppressor blood, and then 20%, my land was taken by the white man blood. I don't know. I guess I could probably go either way. Maybe what I should do is I should cry for the first half of the day because of my oppressive nature, and then for the second half of the day, do whatever it is that I want to do. I don't know how it works, but if any of you guys have any Juneteenth traditions that you'd like to share, or maybe even some dishes that you cook on Juneteenth, all that kind of thing, let me know, because I honestly don't know what to do on Juneteenth. I only found out about the holiday a few years ago, and so I don't know, maybe there aren't any traditions. We'll see. But anyway, let's jump into the content today. I wanted to say this. John Harris has been producing some really good content about the Southern Baptist Convention this past week. And, John's a really good guy. I like his channel very much. His channel is more serious than my channel. And I think that's probably why he does better when it comes to views and stuff like that than I do, because his content is a lot more palatable, I would say, for everybody. Now, my book is written in that way, so if you think my content's a little too edgy on YouTube, but you want to share my perspectives with friends, my book is a great way to do that. I wrote that intentionally. Don't forget, Juneteenth sale this weekend. Anyway, but I wanted to address one thing that John says here. This is a video called 8 Reasons to Leave the SBC. And before he gets into that, he talks about something regarding himself and the way that his work is perceived by many of the people in the power structures of the SBC. I thought this was so interesting, and I wanted to get my brothers back here because I've experienced what he's talking about here. Let me just play it.
Message me through Patreon. So Patreon link is in the info section for this video and podcast, and you can download the slideshow that I'm about to present to you. And maybe it's something that you want to present to the leaders of your church, and without me, maybe they don't. Maybe I found this often is because of the indoctrination that's happening in the seminaries, because of the 11th commandment. There's a lot of people who, if they hear what I'm doing, and they've been so tied to the establishment in the SBC, they don't know much about what I've said. They haven't listened to everything, but they automatically will dismiss it because they've been told that I have bad motivations, that whatever the case, whether it's a lie or it's something true, like I'm critiquing Southern Baptists and that's so bad. Well, that's true, but it's not bad. They dismiss it. So downloading one of these slideshows can be one of the ways that you get the talking points, and you can then go yourself. And that's what I encourage people to do. Don't reference me. Don't reference another website. Look for the truth. We're not the final authority. The truth is objective. It's out there. You can find it. We're just helping you find it, and then go and you present the case, make the case yourself.
All right. So what he's talking about there, I don't know the private conversations that people have had about, John Harris and what he's all about and stuff like that. But let me just say this, just to give him a little bit of little credence here. This is true. This is definitely true because I've experienced this myself. Anytime that I've gotten into a controversy with someone, or if somebody has, shared my videos with someone at their church or something like that, anytime that's happened, we get from the Southern Baptist leaders, what we get is just if they disagree, or if they're publicly sort of critiquing the words that I've said, that is somehow inappropriate, and it shows that they're divisive, right? It shows that they're a divisive person. It shows that they've got bad motivations. People have called me not a Christian, apostate, because I dared to criticize Russell Moore or whoever it was. And this is the reaction that you get. You get, oh, no, stay away from that John Harris kind of guy. Stay away from A.D. Robles. In fact, I've had people that have entered themselves into conflicts that I've had with other people and have encouraged the person I was in conflict with to not speak with me. In fact, when I spoke with Joe Carter, he told me he was warned against me. I'm not going to tell you who warned him against me, but Joe Carter told me that he was warned against taking a phone call from me. And the reality is that is so twisted and so divisive and evil that someone would do that. Because the reality of the situation is, and me and Matt talked about this last night, you get this group that says unity is the most important thing, and so therefore you can't critique my opinions. We have a range of opinions here in the SBC or the PCA or whatever, and that is actually upside down, because unity with false teaching is not unity. It's actually division. Unity with false teaching is actually the opposite of unity. So it's no surprise that somebody in the SBC would seek unity by trying to make sure that people are divided with John Harris when he puts a perspective out there that is objectively true, it's correct, but he broke the 11th commandment. Fake unity, a divisive person will try to make sure that wedge stays firmly in place instead of hearing a guy like John Harris out, instead of hearing somebody like me out. I can't think of something more evil than somebody encouraging someone else to not try to solve the issues that are at play. Instead, stay away from them, avoid them, don't talk to them. I cannot think of something that's more undermining of the unity of the church than that. Because That's not like people will often make the case that if you stand up for the truth and you critique someone's words to try to, better get an understanding of the truth, that's divisive. That's not divisive. That's actually required according to the scripture. In the Old Testament law, it says, "You shall love your neighbor. You shall strive with him when he's wrong or in sin," or something like that. I forget the exact quote, but it says that it's actually required that you not just leave him to his own devices. It's required that the confrontation happens. And what does it say in Matthew 18? If your brother sins, go to him. That's a requirement that Christ puts upon you. And so anyone who would seek to undermine that requirement is purposely seeking to increase and intensify the division that exists. And so it's just amazing to see this. Liberals and progressives and pagans always do this. They always make things opposite. They always make things opposite land. And we need to resist that at every turn. And so, I hear what John Harris is saying here. It's unfortunate because I know that John has been treated probably worse than I have because his reach is larger. You know what I mean? So he's probably more of a threat than I am to a lot of their schemes. And so, but you don't hear John complaining about it. You see, that's another thing that I've noticed. It's like, typically the people that are treated this way don't complain about it. They know exactly what's going on. The enemy is throwing fits, right? You got to expect it when you're standing for the word of God. You're standing for the truth. You have to expect that the enemy is going to try all kinds of schemes. They're going to throw fits. They're going to say things about you that aren't true. You have to expect it. You got to go in expecting it. It doesn't make it easy or fun, but at least you're expecting it. You don't think something strange is happening to you. And so John didn't put me up to doing this video. I doubt he would even want me to do this video because, he doesn't need me to defend him. But I just thought I'd mention that because if you get that reaction of like, oh, I heard John is evil, so I can't watch his content, I would challenge that, man. Who told you that? Who told you that? So are you in the habit of just assuming the bad report about someone is true without actually going to them and talking to them or hearing them out and stuff? Is that a habit of yours? Because that's not a Christian habit, by the way. And by the way, shout out to all the people over the years that have come to me and said, hey, man, I heard somebody say X about you. Is that true? I got so much respect for people who would do that. And the reality is sometimes when they come to me and say that, it is true what they're saying. Yeah, I said that, but what's wrong with that? You know what I mean? Most of the time, though, it isn't true. Hey, did you do this? The answer is usually no. I heard this. Somebody said this about you. Shout out to all the people who did not just believe the negative report instantly. And they came to me and say, hey, is this true? I heard this. Is this true? And it's like, that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do, especially if you're going to hold something against someone. You know what I mean? And over the years, I've heard lots of things about how certain people are evil, certain people are bad, certain people just want to cause divisions and stuff like that. And Bible thumping wingnut was one of those people, right? And look, I don't believe everything Bible thumping wingnut says, and I don't agree with everything that he says. But the dude one time came to me. And he said to me, hey, I saw one time you said this about me, and I wanted to, I've been kind of holding on to it for a while, and I can't do it anymore, man. I want to talk to you about that. And he came to me with something he had against me. And you know what happened? Instantly, I was like, yeah, man, I was wrong. I should not have said that about you. I think it was Tim. I said, I should not have said that about you. Now that it was something, I forget what it was really about. And I'm sure Tim doesn't remember either, but it was solved. It was squashed. You see, that's why they don't want you communicating with someone, because it typically gets solved when you have a conversation. And so those that are seeking division in the church will they'll try anything to stop those conversations from happening. So they'll tell you that John is an evil man. He's just trying to destroy the SBC, and it's all they'll tell you that because what their goal is to not solve the issue. They want to widen the gap. They want to increase the division. And they know that if you have a conversation with John, or if you hear him out, that'll probably seek to solve the issue. That'll lead to solving the issue. And they don't want that. These people are twisted. They're twisted. They do not care what God says. They don't care about his commands. There's one guy that refuses to talk to me even to this day. It's been like 3 years where he's claimed to have something against me and has never actually told me what it is. And, one time we were about to have a conversation. It was all set up, and, my pastor was involved, and it was all set up. It was going to happen. It was going to happen like within a week. And then what happened was that I put out another video about, I don't know, Russell Moore. I don't even remember who it was. It doesn't even matter. And he canceled the conversation. And so my pastor was like, well, why are you canceling this conversation? And what he said was this. He said, well, I'm canceling it because he put out another video and he's clearly not ready to repent. As if the scripture said, if your brother sins against you, wait until he's ready to repent and then go to him. It doesn't say that. They don't care what God says, though. They just want the division. They never want to solve their issues. And so shout out to John Harris. I know he takes this kind of abuse all the time. I don't watch every one of his videos, but the ones that I've seen, he doesn't seem to complain about it. And again, he didn't put me up to doing this video, and he probably wouldn't even want me to do this video. But brother, praying for you. God bless you. Let's move on. Actually, this is kind of related here. I tweeted this out. I gabbed this out earlier today about the Southern Baptist Convention. And I said this: you can always count on conservatives to herald all their losses as moral victories of some kind. And I got to be honest, this is so common, not only in the SBC, but Republicans do this all the time. And let me just explain to you how I know about this mentality, because over the years, I grew up a bit of a connoisseur about losing. I'm a losing connoisseur. Not so much that I've lost a lot in my life. Now, I have lost things in my life. I've lost competitions and things like that. But what I'm talking about is I grew up loving all the loser sports teams. I was a Mets fan when I was a kid. I'm still a Mets fan. In fact, here's my hat. I'll prove it. I like the Mets. I don't really watch baseball as much, but, I still like the Mets. So the Mets are a loser team. The Jets are a loser team. The Knicks are a loser team. The Rangers, they're all right. I still qualify them as a loser team, though. But all my favorite teams were loser teams. And as I grew up, I noticed some things about losers that I found to be very disgusting. Even when I was a kid, I knew this was nonsense. And I'd go to a Mets game, right? Go to a Mets game at Shea Stadium or even Citi Field. Even to this day, you could do this. And you go and you see all their banners of all the victories that they've had. And they've got the 1969 World Series. We won the World Series. Great. You got the 1986 World Series. We won the World Series. Great. And then you've got 10 flags that say National League East winners. You see National League champions. It's like all these flags of second place or fourth place. Like they celebrate all of these losses. Then you roll around town, down to the Bronx, I guess up to the Bronx. You go to the Bronx, you go to a Yankee game, and these are winners. The Yankees are winners. And so what they promote, they don't put up the pennants when they won the American League East. They don't celebrate that. They celebrate when they won the World Series, and they've won it 100 times. And so they've got 100 pennants, and they're all World Series champions. But the losers celebrate the moral victories. The losers will have, press conferences after a season where they were above 500, and that as if that's a celebration. You see, that's okay, great. You won more games than you lost, but you still finished in third place in your division. It's that's not something to really celebrate that much. You know what I mean? Like these moral victories. Moral victories are bogus, man. You gotta win. You gotta win, otherwise you lost. And it's maybe you didn't lose the war, but you lost the battle. And it's important to acknowledge that, because if you can't acknowledge that the conservatives in the SBC have gotten their teeth kicked in, cleaned their clock, they're done. They're down for the count. If you don't acknowledge that this battle was roundly and soundly and completely and totally lost, then you'll never ever figure out how to win, because you think basically your strategy was okay. And maybe you want to tweak things a little here and there, and maybe you can win. I don't think that's the approach, guys. This thing needs to be changed from top to bottom. You need to reevaluate your entire strategy. You need to reevaluate your entire language, all of it. Because if you continue doing these things, you will continue to lose by wider and wider margins. It's like the Republicans. It's the same thing. It's like they don't get it. They don't get it. Like I'm joking about Juneteenth because who cares? But like they think that that's a winning. Oh, we'll vote for Juneteenth. That's how we'll get black voters on our side. We'll support Juneteenth, the new Independence Day. And it's like, yeah, we're going to own the libs by going with whatever they want to do. We'll go with it a couple years later. Like that's a losing strategy. But I think most Republicans actually like losing. They actually are liberals on the inside. And then some Republicans are just naive. They think like Trump, like he was all about Juneteenth. You know what I mean? Juneteenth, he thought he was going to win the black vote that way and get to the White House. But the reality is he's not going to win the black. Even if he did win the black vote, he would never make it to the White House because the liberals are like 3 steps ahead of you. You know what I mean? The liberals are planning their other things. So I just, this moral victory thing, nobody's calling it a moral victory, but that's how they're treating it. It's like, well, we did better than we thought we would, so that means we can win. No. When you lose, that doesn't mean you can win. I just don't understand that. It's like, we lost by a little bit, so that proves that we can win. How does that prove that we can win? No, it doesn't. You lost and you lost. That's like saying, the Jets used to do this all the time. Again, I'm a connoisseur of losing here. So the Jets used to do this all the time. Like they would always lose to the Patriots, always. But then in the seasons that they played 2 games against the Patriots every year because they're in the same division. And then in the seasons where we would win one of those games, we would win 1 out of 2 for the Patriots. We would look at that. We would celebrate like that was our Super Bowl. It was like, oh, see, we're just, all we need is a few more pieces and we can compete with the Patriots. And then, of course, next year comes along and, of course, we're not competing with the Patriots. That's how it always worked because we took these moral victories to heart. It's like, oh, yeah, all we need is just like a wide receiver and then we'll be good. And they trick. See, when you almost win but you lose, oftentimes you're tricked into thinking that, oh, we're just so close. We're almost there. And it's like, no, that doesn't mean that at all because the next year you could easily lose both of those games. You could easily get dominated by the Patriots because they're not judging their success based on whether or not they beat the Jets. They're judging their success whether or not they win the Super Bowl. That's how a winner thinks. You know what I mean? That's how a winner thinks. A loser thinks, well, if I almost beat the Patriots on any given day, maybe I got a few extra calls my way, or the wind was blowing a certain way, or maybe, Tom Brady just had bad fish that morning. Like they take that one example of a close call, and they're like, well, we're just about there, man. We could do it. We could totally do it. It's like, nah, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Like, I'm not trying to insult anybody. I'm not trying to say you have to leave the SBC. But this whole thing, I just don't understand this perspective of like we almost won, but we lost, so that means we can win. I don't get it. And as a connoisseur of losers, I know that that's a trap that losers often fall into. Now, I'm not saying that the people saying this are losers, but what I am encouraging, this is an encouraging word. Don't fall into the trap that says we did almost everything right. We just got to make a few tweaks here and there, and then we can win. No. You have to change everything that you're doing. What you're doing didn't work. So you need to change that. You need to take a look at the offensive line. You need to take a look at every part of your team. You see, this is what the Jets used to do. They're like they almost won, and like the last play of the game, they almost got a touchdown, but their wide receiver dropped it, and they think, oh, okay, well, we almost beat the Patriots. If not for our wide receiver, we would have beat them. So let's get a wide receiver. But really what's happened is that their whole system, top to bottom, is a disaster. They just got lucky. The wide receiver dropped the ball. Yes, so maybe you need a new wide receiver too, but you actually need a new everything. And that's the situation I think that the conservatives in the Southern Baptist Convention are in. They think they're almost there, but they're not. Because a lot of damage is going to be done in a year, and you need to change almost everything about what you're doing. I hope you found that as encouraging because it's intended to be encouraging. So let's move on to the next thing. So I've got an idea for a book that I want to write about conflict, about the coming conflict and how to prepare for it, how to prepare your own mind for dealing with the conflict. And this is not going to be part of the book, but this is an example of what I mean. And so here's, I don't know who this is, Joe Pritch. I'm not going to say Prick. Joe Pritch. He says this. He says, It all starts to make sense when you realize they're just trying to frame all dissent as, quote, white supremacy because white people are terrified of being called racist. If they can equate all dissent with racism, white people will sit quietly and never object to anything. So this is an idea, this is the kind of thing that I'm thinking of. This is the kind of idea that I'm thinking of, right? Because in the coming conflict, you need to go into the conflict knowing that they're going to call you racist, right? They're going to say you're a white supremacist. If you don't go into conflicts, political conflicts, church conflicts, any kind of conflict in this day and age, and you're not expecting to be called a white supremacist or a racist, then you're not going to be prepared for how to win that conflict, right? They're going to say this. And the reality is that Joe Pritch here is saying that white people are affected by this. But by the way, you don't even have to be white. They call me white supremacist. In fact, one of the things that got me into YouTube content in the first place was an SBC goon saying that I have white privilege when he knew full well that I wasn't even white. So they call Puerto Ricans white privileged or white supremacists. They call blacks. Have you ever noticed the dude from what's the thing called? The Proud Boys. That dude is black. And they call him a white supremacist. It's like, you don't even have to be white to do this, but they do know that white people are deathly afraid of being called white supremacists. So if that's you, if you're afraid of being called a racist, you need to fix that. You need to look in the mirror and fix that because they're going to do it. And they're going to use it to manipulate you to do what they want or to, at the very least, keep your mouth shut about the things that you see that are going wrong. The Southern Baptists are doing this. This is not just in the political culture. This is one of the tactics of the Southern Baptists. They call everyone that they don't like racist. They don't have to have evidence. They don't care about what God says, guys. I don't know how much more to emphasize this. They don't care. All they're after is division. That's all they're after. So they will, if you oppose Ed Litton, if you oppose J.D. Greer, if you oppose these, they will call you racist. So if you're white, you need to understand that and not fear it. I don't like being called white supremacist. I don't like being called racist. I don't like it, but I don't fear it. See, that's the difference. It's never going to be pleasant to be called a white supremacist, but you cannot fear it. You need to be ready for it. You need to understand it's going to happen, and you need to have some prepackaged responses to that you can just zing them with and all that kind of thing. Like that you have to do that. If you're going to be in the conflict, you got to be ready for that. It's sad that Southern Baptists are using this ridiculous commandment-breaking tactic against you, but they're going to. Prepare for it. You know what I'm saying? So this is the kind of thing that I've been thinking about. Regarding this upcoming book. This is not one of the examples I was going to use, but I think it'll be an interesting book. Let me know what you think. All right, last thing. Now let's not talk about this. This is a Bloomberg article that Matt found that's talking about how people shouldn't own property anymore. Everyone should be a renter. So, like, if you're capable of buying some property, do it. This is what they want. They want you to be a serf. They want you to be a renter. They want you to be a slave, and they're the owners, and that's what they want. And so if you're in a financial position to do it, get some property, man. Get some property and protect yourself. By the way, if you're in debt, consumer debt, credit cards, all this kind of stuff, get out of debt. They want you to be on this treadmill of serfdom. And consumer debt puts you on that treadmill of serfdom. Like all of a sudden, you can't afford getting canceled because you've got payments to make. Like if you've got a ton of payments to make and all that kind of, seriously, get out of debt. That's one of the biggest favors you can do yourself. Anyway, well, I don't want to talk about this that much. It's kind of boring. Plus, this episode's already been 30 minutes. I wasn't expecting that. So, I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you had a great week. I hope you have a great weekend. Don't forget, Juneteenth sale on my website, adrobles.com. Get 2 books for $28. That's a bargain, and it'll help you this coming Juneteenth to learn how to defeat the woke church. I hope you found this video helpful. God bless.